Ease of doing business, sorry, it is not here.
In India, what are some of the things that founders ignore?
People ignore compliance, people ignore cash flows, people ignore how do you actually manage your books really well to global standards. If you are expecting global capital to come in, you also be global.
Many of the founders consciously ignore compliance so that they can get away with some things. Some who say that compliance itself is so difficult and it's so complicated, you miss it along the way.
Compliance is difficult. In a country like ours, the compliance costs are also higher. Especially the founders need the advice, the right kind of advice to grow. You need someone to kind of put brakes on you and tell you that, okay, this is what it is.
Still, we are in 2026, June, July. Why do you think we have not had very aspirational Indian homegrown advisory firms? Still, the big names are from the West.
Early stage market, we have our hands in there to some extent. But the mid-size market is what we want to kind of go after. Not every company is going to have a lawyer, but they need a lot of support in law. We are creating that ecosystem of individuals, firms, VC firms who can actually be showcased something really good, which is where someone like us comes in, where we take over that entire shoulder, that entire responsibility of supporting you across different areas and let you concentrate on the business.
Have there been founders who have not taken your advice? Satya, I straight want to jump into this question. Having seen 250 companies working with the founders, entrepreneurs, leadership teams of 250 companies in India, what are some of the things that founders ignore?
It is to some extent a founder-led problem, right? I think people ignore compliance, people ignore cash flows, people ignore how do you actually manage your books really well to global standards. If you are expecting global capital to come in, you also be global, right? We've had multiple examples. I mean, I've invested in a couple of companies where I knew they were really good, but yes, compliance was really an issue, and these companies really fell down really hard. I've seen that happen very closely, which is one of the big reasons why we started this company. Between me and Shiv, my co-founder at Tally, we used to see that we were investing in a few companies here and there, and we knew they were good companies, but compliance took a backseat. Your entire financials took a backseat. These companies never saw the light of day, which is where we said that, look, if this is a space that we need to enter into and kind of coach the founders, I think that's what we kind of jumped in to say that, yes, this is what we'll do. And there are companies where the investment professionals went to start the companies and went through these kind of issues, right? So people, especially the founders, need the advice, the right kind of advice to grow. And when they're growing, there is a lot of money also that comes in along the way, right? How do you manage that money? How the cash flows are going in? What comes in? What goes out? Do you really need to kind of, you need someone to kind of put brakes on you and tell you that, okay, this is what it is, right? Though you may, as a founder, want to run faster, but then you need to know where you're heading to, which is where someone like us comes in and says that, look, this is what is probably going to go wrong.
There are two lines of thinking. One, people say that many of the founders consciously ignore compliance, consciously look away so that they can get away with some things. And there are some who say that compliance itself is so difficult and it's so complicated that you miss it along the way.
Compliance is difficult. In a country like ours, the compliance costs are also higher. So government talks a lot about ease of doing business. But believe me, in India, running a business is not a joke. It is hard. You have multiple compliance checkpoints that you need to go through. Though you may talk about mudra loans, though you can talk about 100 other things, unless I have a 3-year track record, no bank comes in and even talks to me, right? So where do you actually support the founder, support the ecosystem out here? Which is where we're trying to do that, where we are creating that ecosystem of individuals, firms, VC firms who can actually be showcased something really good, and hopefully They fund these companies and take them up, kind of a thing, right? So ease of doing business, sorry, it is not here. But can it get better? Yes, it can get better, which is where someone like us comes in, where we take over that entire shoulder, that entire responsibility of supporting you across different areas, and let you concentrate on the business.
Satya, I want to talk about your firm, Northbound Advisors, and you've renamed it recently. So tell us about this renaming process. But more importantly, what's the intent? Because today, Northbound Advisors is competing with some of the biggest, very recognized global firms in the country, not just with the biggest consulting firms, but you're also competing with the big fours in the compliance audit, and there'll be so many. What's the big ambition? Because I know you have big ambition and you don't want to be just one player out of Bangalore, and you worked with such phenomenal companies. So tell us about the firm, the ambition. How are you different?
So we started it as KS Square, right? So if you look at the name KS Square, it was a KS and S, three individuals who started it. All of us were colleagues at Tally, one of the most known companies in this country. We all loved that company, but we said that we need to do something more. So three of us came together, started this. Unfortunately, the K passed away, and she had some health issues. So S and S stayed back. But then if you have larger ambitions, you need to go away from your names. It has to grow above you, right? So which is what we started seeing as well. People saw that the kind of advice they were getting, the kind of support they were getting, the kind of service they were getting was really good. Not just from a company side of things, but also from the investor side of things. We do quite a bit of work with the investors as well. We do a lot of diligences, we do a lot of transaction advisory and things like that, which is where they started seeing that yes, these guys are doing something more than what we expected, kind of a thing. Which is where we said that, can we rebrand? Can we look like you initially started saying that, do we have ambitions outside of India and things like that? Which is where we started looking at it, and we said that, look, what better than going north? Going north is growing, going north is having larger ambitions and things like that. So which is where we said that, look, let us rebrand it as Northbound Advisors. We are looking at legal being a separate big component of our business. We recently had a couple of partners leaving large law firms and joining us to start this legal thing. We will have a senior gentleman from one of the big fours join us to do a GCC. We're not going to go head on with the big fours, that's for sure. But we are going to look at the large unserved market, which I've seen at Tally. Right? I mean, there is a large market out there.
Which is that market? Tell us about that.
That market is the early stage and the mid-size kind of market, right? So the early stage market, we have our hands in there to some extent. But the mid-size market is what we want to kind of go after, especially on the legal and the GCC front, right? Not every company is going to have a lawyer, but they need a lot of support in law. And when you're building this with ambitions of being AI native, that's how we are thinking about. We've got an entire team working through this whole thing. When you're building this with as AI native, it shows you in a very different kind of light. You can actually go and compete with the larger companies. The thing that's happening out there in the market is the big fours. There's only limited number of large companies. They are trying to come and hit the mid-sized kind of companies as well. But then with their cost structures, they cannot handle that. With cost structures of a company like ours, we should be able to easily get up there and start serving more. AI has come in at the right time, which is helping us quite a bit.
And you're building some proprietary AI tool?
Yes. So we are working with a partner of ours, and we are completely with the knowledge that we have, right? I mean, we've worked with over the last 8 years. We've worked with multiple companies across multiple sectors, doing multiple things. For example, we do diligences, we do CFO advisory, we do legal, we do tax, we do risk advisory. So across everything, we are building a proprietary tool which we want to use to actually deliver. I mean, yes, People will tell that why do you need to do it when Anthropic or OpenAI, everyone does it, right? End of the day, we haven't heard too much, but data is going to become a big issue. Why would my client want his data to be out there in the open, right? His fear is always going to be, will my competition take it, and kind of thing, which is why we're building that ecosystem in house, where the data is protected for my own client, but what gets used, whether it's through an Anthropic or a X or a Y or a Z, the same results are going to come for my team. I'm not right now thinking of monetizing on the product that we are building. We are going to use it in house, but what we are planning to do is, can I deliver this at scale, which is one of the bigger reasons why we are out there. We just did a small fundraise about 6 months ago, but we probably are going to be out there to do a larger fundraise, so that you can you can play the roll up game, whereby you buy out 8 10 firms in your similar area, right? Which means that you have another 100 customers, 200 customers. Use AI to deliver to those customers. How do you scale up? There's only one partner. That partner has 10 12 hours a day. How can he actually deliver to 25 different companies? 5 years ago, I used to say no to a lot of companies, because that was the only time that you could kind of have. But now with AI coming in, if the work is done, I mean, it gives me more time, face time with the customer, and which is what is going to end up.
It's very interesting that you're saying this. What I'm taking from you is that it's with AI, firms are reimagining themselves, right? And there is, surprise, surprise, there is quicker way to scale now because of AI for services. Because it's like, from an investor's lens, they're always looking at product firms because they have the non-linear scale. But you're saying that one can imagine that now with a service, and at least you are working to make that happen. When it comes to advising entrepreneurs, businesses, what has been the most satisfying part of your journey? And if you can give us one or two examples where your advising made a huge difference in the outcome for the firm.
So I think end of the day, if you look at my career, I had a reasonably good job. I was a CFO at Tally. Everything was going well and things like that. But then I had a taste of working with startups a little earlier, which is where I said that, look, the impact can be seen a lot more at a very close quarters, working with the founders, right? Seeing a small product launch happening, seeing them raising some kind of money to start realizing their dream becomes extremely important, which I've seen for multiple companies out here, right? On one side, there's someone giving you money, doing this and telling you to do this, but your heart is not saying this is the right thing to do, which is where you step in and say that, look, data says this, your strength is this, let's do this. It is fine. We can say no to the VC. Let him give you the money, but we will tell that this is the way business needs to be done. So that can only happen when you're working very closely with the founder and he trusts you and he jumps in and says that this is what happens. And how can this trust be built? This trust doesn't get built overnight. You've done 10 things for the founder. You've made sure that everything that he's done is okay. You made sure that you got an investor on the table, talk investment, negotiate on his behalf, and things like that.
Satya, have there been founders who have not taken your advice and the outcomes have not been great? You don't have to name anyone, but generally, because founders are also founders because they have a point of view. And like you said, that it takes a lot to win trust of founders for anyone. I'm talking as a founder myself. I take your advice and I look up to you. But there are also many moments with many people one has not taken their advice.
Multiple guys, right? Multiple companies have done that. Founders have done that. Multiple investors have done that. See, the good part of being what we do is, We understand an investor mindset as well as the company mindset, right? If a founder is looking at it, he only talks from his mindset. I can look at it from an investor mindset as well, because I know how the investor is going to look at this investment. For an investor, it is about how do I make my 10 rupees into 100 rupees. That is all is his mindset. All this crap about me supporting the company to get up there and all this. I mean, because the VC firm has taken money from somewhere else. It's not their own money. They need to answer 10 other people, their LPs, right? So they need to show that return,
Outcome.
as simple as that. End of the day, it's an outcome, it's a return. I mean, I can tell that I supported this company XYZ, but then every VC also knows that out of every 10 companies that he invests in, 4 or 5 are going to go away. So I've had this ones where I got a large conglomerate wanting to invest in one of the companies which was doing a lot of work in the rural. So I told them, take money from this company, right? Because this was a large conglomerate. They could support them everywhere.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, the founder was extremely close to me. He would tell me his everyday routine. For some reason, he got an advice, and there is also this whole thing, right? Sometimes founders also take advice from multiple people. It happens. There was another guy who went and told him that why not look at another company, another investor kind of a thing. And this guy had the what do you say, audacity to tell this large company that I don't want your money. It took a lot of effort to bring that large company
Both on the same
on the same
table.
this one, but then he did that. Probably he would have been 5 times bigger if he had taken that money at that stage. Just didn't happen.
Did he take money from someone else?
He took from someone else, but then I can see that it is actually not as fast as he could have got into the market.
Do you go back and tell the founders that, hey, I told you so?
Of course I did.
You did.
Of course I did.
Or you're just quiet and say that.
He acknowledges that, yes.
Oh, he did
that, yes.
Oh, that's
yes,
a
yes,
good
yes.
evolution. Yeah.
And the same thing has happened on the investor side as well. In the same company, in the earlier round, I told a few investors, you should bet on this company. And it was at some abysmally low valuation, right? I mean, during peak of COVID, no one was giving him money. It was like really low, the value was. I told these investors, just go and put in some 10 crores. It's not even a big money, right? That 10 crores would have been 1,000 crores today if things
Which
had
is
gone
the name
okay.
of the company?
I would not want to name
Not
the
the investors. You don't have to name the investors. Interesting. Yeah.
We think about it from a longer point,
Yeah.
longer standpoint, right? I mean, 5 years from now, you will have a taxman coming and knocking your doors, and this money that you're paying, say for example, you need to pay 1 crore as this one, would become 10 or 15 crores 5 years down the line, right? So why do you even want to do it?
Yeah.
Right? It becomes important. Why don't you do it? So some founders don't take your advice. It probably happens.
Yeah, but it's also like what you're saying is that one has to be also receptive to taking advice. One question I have is that still we are in 2026, June, July. Why do you think we have had very aspirational advisory, Indian homegrown advisory firms? Still the big names are from the West.
I think it was a lot to do with the structural thing that we have. If you look at me, I worked in the large ones. I started with Deloitte, then I moved to EY. Why did I not work with in my early career, right? Why did I not work with a local firm? The local firms had not scaled up to the level what these guys had done. Right? First of all, they were getting the kind of SOPs, the practices, and everything that the big firms had was proprietary to them, but then a lot had happened in the West, and the scale, they had seen a lot more of scale there. None of the small firms had done it. Now, with information being democratic, everyone knows, for example, what is the risk matrix. Earlier, I mean, one or two of the smaller firms used to know it, which is why the larger companies always used to go to the big
There was a
firms.
walled garden to the intelligence that you could go. So if I'm starting a retail firm in India, I would have some firm which would have experience in US
Yes.
advising and seeing that scale and will give me that reference and example.
True, true, true. That's what was happening.
The whole thing towards looking like globally, I would say everyone is looking at their own economy, right? There is more inward, uh, building your own domestic businesses, economy, sectors. So I hope that India also starts looking at
Yeah, I mean,
building.
let's just look at this whole AI thing. Now, every country is trying to build their own LLM kind of a
Yeah,
thing,
yeah,
right? I mean, where did we ever hear about something like this happening earlier?
yeah.
Never, right? I mean, everyone knows this is the power that AI can actually have. So the governments have started intervening, they have
Yeah.
started jumping in. And with that, I think a lot can happen for the Indian companies in India. We are a growing economy, right? And we'll continue to grow. I mean, whether we want it or not, we'll continue to grow.
Yeah, and also the Indian economy now. Today, with 1.4 billion people and the way we are growing, we can't be ignored no more.
Every fifth or a sixth individual is an Indian, right?
Yeah,
In
yeah,
this world.
yeah.
So I mean, there's no choice. We have to grow.
Satya, thank you. It has been wonderful talking to you and listening to you, talking to you, and hearing you. I was reminded that Northbound Advisors and what you're building, you like the Krishna Bhagwan, Krishna to the Arjuns that we have in our country, and we wish you the very best because the ambition is also very interesting. The purpose, and the intent, and the ambition that you have with Northbound Advisors is to create an institution from India which is not just competing with the best in the world, but it is also going global and giving the best advice to
Thank you. Thank
entrepreneurs.
you.
So
Thank you
thank
for
you.
coming. I think this has been wonderful.